Do you ever feel like you're walking on eggshells in your relationship? You're careful with your words, cautious with your tone, and just a little afraid that the wrong step could crack something fragile. It's exhausting, isn't it? Instead of connection, you're left with distance. Instead of safety, you're left with silence. And instead of comfortability, you're left with landmines. Every relationship encounters eggshells from time to time. Eggshells show up as those unresolved conflicts, the unasked questions, the sensitive topics that you find yourself tiptoeing around to supposedly keep the peace. But here's the truth: ignoring those eggshells doesn't preserve your harmony, it erodes it. Welcome to Mars Venus Coaching. I am your gender intelligence coach, Clay Smith. And in today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at what these eggshells really are. We're going to see where they originate in a relationship. We're going to take a look at how they quietly sabotage our connection. And more importantly, I want to provide you with practical steps you can take to clear the space between you and those you love. We will accomplish this first by tending to your side of the mess. Then we will approach your partner's side with care. We're also going to boost the effectiveness of these strategies through implementing a simple exercise that allows you both to continue to keep that space between you clean, safe, and welcoming. An eggshell in a relationship is an unspoken tension point, an unresolved issue, an unexpressed need, a sensitive topic where one or both partners avoid talking about for fear of promoting conflict or bringing about criticism or experiencing shutdown. It's the feeling of having to tiptoe around your words or behaviors because the ground doesn't feel safe. Eggshells often accumulate from past wounds, repeated disappointments, or unmet expectations that were really never fully acknowledged. They act like invisible barriers. Instead of open communication and authentic connection, couples pull back, self censor, and walking cautiously begins to feel the normal solution to keeping that peace. Left unapproached, eggshells accumulate and create a fragile emotional floor, one that blocks intimacy and trust and deteriorates closeness. Understanding what eggshells are, we're going to take a deeper look at how they manifest themselves. Eggshells don't all look the same. In fact, very often they show up differently in different areas of a relationship. By being able to identify them, you can recognize the places where most couples find themselves treading lightly. And more importantly, begin the process of cleaning up the mess. So let's investigate the most common eggshells that couples encounter from time to time. So buckle up, things are about to get messy. Eggshells calcify in a defensive communication style. Criticism, blame, judgment, defensiveness, or simply as simple as not feeling heard. These eggshells are the most common because they're the doorway to almost every other issue. Eggshells quietly form around household responsibilities and contribution. Who does the cooking? Who does the cleaning? The overall fairness of the workload of the home. This is the daily friction point. Small but repeated eggshells create resentment and accumulate quickly. Eggshells layer themselves through financial management, spending, budgeting, managing debt, hidden purchases, or unequal financial contributions. These eggshells are one of the top conflicts that trigger most couples, and they just want to avoid them altogether. Eggshells disguise themselves when talking about intimacy or sex. Differences in desire, rejection, lack of physical affection, or just unmet needs. These eggshells are often avoided due to a fear of vulnerability, further rejection. Eggshells settle on the ground through differing parenting styles, discipline differences, division of childcare, disagreements over family involvement. These eggshells get highly charged when they get stepped on because they blend together values, identity, and generational patterns. This becomes very messy. Eggshells reveal themselves in moments of conflict avoidance, pretending everything's just fine, while resentment builds silently. These eggshells may look peaceful on the surface, but create fragility underneath it. Eggshells begin to multiply in the presence of in laws and extended family members. Boundaries, loyalty struggles, cultural traditions, or outside family interferences, these can all be hot topics that, if not agreed upon, get quite sticky. Eggshells become evident when we provide our partner with feedback that they might not be open to hearing. You see, your partner is your mirror, and oftentimes when that feedback is met with criticism, an eggshell destroys the gift of authentic criticism for the betterment of the relationship. Eggshells contaminate connection through past mistakes or betrayals. Yeah, these eggshells come in the form of affairs, broken promises, or just past hurts that were never fully healed. As a result, these eggshells aren't quite as common as the ones that have to do with communication or chores, but when present, are highly impactful. Oftentimes, these eggshells are strategically placed on the floor to punish our partner when we feel hurt by what they did. Eggshells can crack a foundation through sharing dreams or differing lifestyle differences, career goals, moving preferences, just lifestyle differences in general. Sharing your vision for the future with your partner. These can all encase themselves in nasty eggshells. Let's say you have a lofty goal or a dream, and your partner might not be on the same page as you. They will likely unconsciously discourage your endeavors, thus making it difficult for you to share that part of your life with them. Lastly, eggshells form around bad habits or triggers, addictions. Bad habits like excessive screen time, late nights out, or just small repeated annoyances that pile up over time. Perhaps they regularly commit to doing something but don't follow through. As a result, an eggshell begins to surface through trying to hold your partner accountable for a commitment they made. But remember, accountability is an outside resource. Holding your partner accountable will only create resentment on both sides. The person that is holding their partner accountable feels like, dude, I can't be your mom. The person that is held accountable feels like, get off my back. Accountability works best as an outside resource. So, in summary, eggshells aren't always these big betrayals. Often, they're small, continuous moments left unspoken. until they calcify into that fragile ground. And we've just explored the top 11 common eggshells many couples encounter. Those fragile topics and tension points that quietly shape a relationship. But to fully understand them, it's not necessarily just enough to see where they appear. We also need to get a deeper understanding of where these eggshells originate so we can prevent them from happening in the future. Eggshells aren't random. I would imagine on your wedding day, the gifts at the gift table, I would imagine there wasn't a box wrapped in red wrapping paper with a big bow on it. It's just a big giant box of nasty old eggshells, maybe from Aunt Iney, with a little note on the side that says, "Hey, happy anniversary. Go ahead and take these eggshells and, casually throw them in each room, display them around your house for, good fortune." No, they have roots. And by tracing these eggshells to the origin, we gain the power to address them at the source rather than tiptoeing around the surface. So, where do eggshells originate in your relationship? I mean, they rarely appear overnight. Eggshells are created over time, usually in those moments when something important is left unsaid, unresolved, or dismissed. Maybe you share a concern with your partner and feel criticized instead of feeling heard. Next time, you stay silent. A disagreement might flare up without ever being truly repaired. So that subject gets avoided moving forward. Little by little, silence replaces honesty. And walking carefully begins to feel safer than being authentic. Eggshells often originate from deeper experiences. Some come from past childhood raising, where maybe you grew up in a home and conflict was explosive, or where emotions weren't welcome. Others come from fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being misunderstood or judged. And oftentimes, eggshells form around unspoken expectations. When one partner assumes the other one should just already know what they need, but that need was never fully voiced. Eggshells are born in moments of disconnection when that disconnection is left unhealed. What could have just been resolved and cleared away now instead hardens into a fragile barrier, leaving couples cautious rather than connected. How do eggshells impact a relationship? So what? There's a couple places in the room where I don't want to walk, a couple little piles of eggshells, but I'll remember where they're at. I'll be sure not to step on them. What's the big deal? The consequences are significant, often subtle at first, but they grow heavier over time. You gotta see eggshells kind of like a bacteria. Left on its own, it feeds and morphs and grows and takes over the entire organism. We're going to take a look at the top 5 consequences that eggshells can have on your relationship. First and foremost, eggshells erode trust. When couples sense that they can't communicate freely without breaking something fragile, honesty begins to fade. The relationship lacks a foundation of openness, and trust slowly decays. Eggshells create a lack of emotional intimacy. You see, vulnerability, those go hand in hand with being connected to a significant other. And if your partner is constantly monitoring themselves, avoiding their words or certain hot topics, They'll stop sharing that part of their life with you. The relationship becomes polite, but distant. More like coexisting together, but not truly relating. Without emotional intimacy, the physical intimacy will erode in time. It's hard to be physically vulnerable with a partner if you can't be emotionally vulnerable with them first. Eggshells accumulate resentment, unspoken frustrations. They don't disappear, they gather like pressure beneath the surface. Over time, even little irritations can trigger outsized reactions. These irritations carry the weight of all the other unresolved moments under them. Eggshells can either increase conflict or encourage withdrawal. Some couples explode under the weight of those eggshells, thus fighting about minor issues that are really bigger symbols of deeper tension. And other couples avoid conflict altogether. But in both cases, the partnership weakens. Eggshells establish a foundation, a very fragile foundation for the future. They create a delicate floor, one that can't really support the weight of tension, stress, change, or growth. Couples may function day to day, but when those challenges come, the cracks show quickly. The overall impact of eggshells is they prevent safety, stifle connection, and sabotage the closeness every relationship longs for. They're not just inconvenient, left unaddressed, they undermine the very bond of the relationship. And when multiple eggshells accumulate in a relationship, it's as if you're slowly building a checklist of untouchable topics. You bring up the finances, and your partner reacts defensively. So that box gets checked. You try and talk about intimacy and ask for more closeness. You're met with criticism. Another box checked. You suggest a different parenting approach. And instead of openness, you're told that your approach is the problem. Another box checked. You gently remind your partner of a commitment they made, only to be met with impatience and sarcasm. Another topic added to the list. Over time, even household projects and everyday responsibilities get placed on the checklist of untouchable topics. And before long, the relationship just shrinks down to the safest, most superficial communication. Conversations like the weather, news, last night's TV show. But you gotta ask yourself, is that really the level of intimacy you want to experience with your significant other? Or do you want a relationship where every subject can be approached with safety, honesty, and connection? So, how do we actually remove these eggshells once they've formed? I think the key is to think in terms of two facets to the fallout. What you can do on your side, and how you can approach your partner on their side when you see the eggshells lies on theirs. On your side of the fence, the work begins with safety. Ask yourself, am I making it safe for my partner to be able to share openly with me? That means listening without jumping to defensiveness, criticism, or avoiding teaching them a lesson. That means choosing curiosity over judgment, showing appreciation for when your partner brings something up that's vulnerable. When you create a safe emotional atmosphere, you clean away the eggshells before they fully harden. Here's a more practical process that you can take to ensure those eggshells don't permeate your intimacy, starting with awareness. From time to time, share with your partner your intentions to create open lines of communication. And in doing so, it's paramount to feel comfortable sharing things with one another freely. Ask one another this simple but profound question: how can I make it safe for you to open up to me? That simple question does two things. First, it signals that you're willing to take responsibility for your side of the mess, that you want to create safety instead of just expect it. Second, it gives your partner the chance to name what they need in order to feel safe to open up to you a little bit more. It may be as simple as just lowering your tone, putting your phone aside when you're having a conversation, or pausing to truly listen without interrupting. By weaving that question into your regular relationship check-ins, you prevent the eggshells from forming and steadily replace fear with trust. So, in a nutshell, ask your partner, how can I make it safe for you to open up to me? Now, what if the eggshell is on their side of the fence? Approach it with respect and gentleness. If you notice there's an eggshell around a certain hot topic, acknowledge it without blame. You can use phrases like, I really value what you have to say, um, whatever that is, but would it work for you if we could talk about this in a space without judgment or criticism? Or I wonder if we could revisit this in more of a calmer manner. The goal isn't to just bulldoze down the eggshells, but to invite your partner into a safer, more constructive space where healing can actually happen. Chances are that if you feel there's an eggshell in the relationship, they most likely do too. And finally, one of the most effective ways to clear eggshells regularly is through a structured exercise. That's why I recommend couples utilize the relationship check in. Just a simple weekly habit designed to surface unspoken concerns and sweep away the eggshells before they pile up. If you'd like a step by step guide on how to that into action, go see one of my earliest episodes entitled The Relationship Check In. It'll just provide you a practical framework to put those action steps into place. Now, oftentimes, eggshells they are experienced in moments where they're encased in defensiveness, and pointing it out in the moment, in the heat of the fight, would think that we would get the point across, but it turns out it's not productive at all. It actually causes your partner to react out of feeling blamed or criticized. When you experience an eggshell, take note of it. Bring it up in your next relationship check in, several days later after the feelings have kind of died down. Now, when we take a look at these eggshells in a relationship, we can experience a deeper understanding of how to remove them through the lens of gender intelligence. We see that men and women carry different sensitivities shaped both by our biology and social conditioning. Now, listen, while anyone can develop any eggshell in any topic, certain patterns tend to show up more frequently along gender intelligent lines. For many women, eggshells often form around themes of emotional connection, communication, or relationship balance. If a woman repeatedly feels dismissed when she expresses her feelings, an eggshell develops around vulnerability itself. She may hesitate to share her emotions, fearing that she's going to be told that she's too much or overreacting. Women may also develop eggshells around household responsibilities or childcare, especially when they feel like their contributions go unnoticed or are not equal. In these cases, very often, silence replaces expressing those needs, and resentment builds silently beneath the surface. Now, for men, eggshells develop in specific areas related to competence, appreciation, and respect. When a man feels criticized by completing a task or handling something, uh, they often feel like their efforts go unnoticed. That eggshell will form around his contributions. Over time, he may stop initiating, fearing that whatever he does, it's not going to measure up. So why try? Men also might carry an eggshell through financial provision or intimacy, two domains where cultural expectations and performance pressure can create deep seated vulnerabilities. When these topics are met with criticism or shutdown, they quickly become landmines. Just as the different types of eggshells are different for a man as opposed to a woman, so too do the ways that men and women respond to them. Women, when confronted with an eggshell, may lean towards verbal processing, complaining, or just shutting down into silence when they feel that they aren't safe to talk. Men, on the other hand, they retreat into avoidance, shutting down, withdrawing, or becoming defensive when the eggshell is addressed on their side. Both reactions are configurations of self protection, yet both further reinforce the fragile ground under the relationship. The key insight here from gender intelligence is this: eggshells aren't just about the topic itself, but about what the topic represents, a deeper level. For many women, the eggshell symbolizes disconnection or a lack of support. For many men, an eggshell represents failure or a lack of appreciation. And partners begin to see their differences through gender intelligence lenses. They can respond to their partner with empathy instead of just judging their partner for differing processing. Then it creates that safety needed to clean up those eggshells together. As I mentioned before, every relationship encounters eggshells from time to time. What matters most is whether you allow them to pile up or whether you choose to clear them away with courage and curiosity. Eggshells aren't going to disappear on their own, but they will lose their power when you name them, face them, and replace avoidance with connection. To make this more practical, I encourage you to write down your eggshells that you experience with your significant other. Put together your checklist of untouchable topics. Ask yourself, what are the topics that when I talk about that with my partner, they get defensive, it gets heated, there's that tension? That's likely an eggshell. And then your challenge today is pick one of those eggshells and communicate that to your partner. Bring it into the light. Now, listen, don't do this in the moment you notice the tension is high. Don't try and clear all of the eggshells away at once. Start with a single step. Approach it in a safe and gentle way. Ask your partner that simple but powerful question: how can I make it safe for you to open up to me? That question is going to clean out more eggshells than silence ever could. So identifying the eggshells is the first step. Then we've got to approach our partner, which is the next step. And remember this: when you clean the eggshells, your bond will strengthen. That's how couples grow closer together as opposed to growing further apart. And if you want a proven tool to keep those eggshells from building back up, I invite you to go see that earlier episode on the relationship check-in. It's just a simple, repeated structure that helps keep that communication clear and your partnership strong. You got to think of it like a trash service, right? If you take out the trash on the weekly basis, your house stays fresh and livable. If you ignore it and let it pile, it's going to begin to rot, smell, and crowd that space. So have we seen today, eggshells are more than just uncomfortable moments. They're the fragile barriers that silently erode trust, block intimacy, and shrink that space of authentic connection. But the good news is, they don't have to define your relationship. By recognizing where your eggshells are, where they come from, noticing where they show up between you and your partner, and taking those steps to remove them, you create that space needed for safety and deeper connection. So I highly recommend you implement this relationship tool with your significant other. If you would like a little bit more clarity on identifying your eggshells or approaching your partner with theirs, feel free to click the link in the description box below. You can set up a complimentary coaching call with me. I'd love to give you some clarity on what to do moving forward. Now, if you've gotten value from our relationship tool, please click that like button, hit subscribe. On a monthly basis, I send out new relationship tools to further connection. Let's stay connected by remembering, when you clear the eggshells, you strengthen your bond. And that's how we move from walking on that fragile ground to walking together with confidence and in love.